Welcome to another top 5 guys. Few days have passed since the latest patch and now we can see how the meta is shaping up. In this video I'm gonna give you 5 of the best decks in Hearthstone right now, talk about mulligans, win rates and general tips so you guys know what you could be doing with as well as what to expect against them. I will be doing an update video about this in a few more days when the meta is a bit more stable, but until then these are the stats we can work with. So I hope you find it helpful, and if you do, a like and subscribe would be great, and don't forget you can check me out live on stream each Tuesday, Thursday and Saturday where I show you the best decks in action. But now let's get into it. By the way, huge shout out to hsreplay.net. Their new Mulligan GV2 is here, and gotta say this is the biggest thing that came out to Hearthstone after Deck Tracker basically. This thing is absolutely insane. It literally gives you a foolproof plan to actually mulligan correctly, not only when going first or second, but depending on the class and depending on the cards you already have. Like, it's very intricate, very detailed and very easy to follow. So I think it's free for now, but soon it's gonna be a premium feature. But I gotta say, paying for HS Replay Premium is the best money you could be spending for Hearthstone, period.
You are not prepared!
Anyway, the first deck on the list is gonna be Herald Shaman, and even though the deck got nerfed, everything else also got nerfed that was kinda problematic for it, so right now it's really thriving. I haven't been seeing too many Herald Shamans in my games at least, but according to the stats it's definitely pretty top tier right now, and the list is nothing too fancy. It's very close to what we were used to seeing already, but this particular list does run a couple of hexes and a single copy of Lightning Storm, because with druids out of the way you just don't have that many whiteboards to handle. The hex is definitely gonna help you against things like Spell Demon Hunters and such, because those can really tempo out some very big men a lot sooner than they're supposed to. And even though Skywall Sentinel got nerfed and now it's only a 2 health, as well as Flight of the Firehawk is only a +1/+1, the core of the deck is still pretty much unchanged, and you could be climbing Easy Legend with this one if you know how to play it. Check out my detailed guide if you still haven't about it. Matchup wise, here's what the stats are looking like right now, and we can see you are gonna be 50-50 against Spell Demon Hunter, a little bit of negative against Face Hunter, which is not that great, and scrolling down further we can see it's nothing but green, so climbing the legend with this one should be no issue for you. When it comes down to the mulligan, when you are going first, you are gonna want to keep your good cheap Herald cards. Both of them are pretty top tier. The Wailing Vapor is amazing, Twilight Egg, Witch Apprentice ain't bad, Flight of the Firehawk still pretty top tier for a card draw, Primordial Overseer decent, and if you have that you might also hold on to the Static Shock. Curving into Xavius also not the worst, but you really need to be curving into it. On the coin it's pretty much the same stuff. Here you could consider holding on to Lightning Storm or Hex depending on the matchup, but for the most part, look for the Herald and the card draw and the early game aggression and you should be fine. For other good Shaman decks, this is the one I'm showing you. Above 500 games is the mark I'm looking for after the patch, because not that much time has passed, so we gotta draw the line somewhere. But we can see several different iterations of Herald Shaman, all of which doing pretty fine, but it's really just about that, like just Herald variations, nothing else is really thriving right now, so if you want to be playing Shaman, that's what it is for now, at least according to the stats. On the number 2 spot, believe it or not, Imbued Druid is still actually looking pretty top tier, and I'm not sure if these stats are really correct. It does look a little bit suspicious because the games with this deck are a little bit too much, and I personally have seen maybe a single Druid that really whooped my ass, so it's still strong, don't get me wrong. But yeah, Imbued Druid is still actually one of the most played and one of the most powerful decks according to the stats. It might be a bug due to some people maybe not logging out and doing the patch for 24 hours, but for now these are the stats, so that's what we're working with. And yeah, even though the deck got really nerfed hard, the core of the deck is still really strong, and even though the 4-mana Wildwood Circle is nerfed, it's still very potent, very worth playing if you are going to be playing Druid, that's for sure. Imbue got nerfed as well, and now this guy imbues every 3 spells, which is still pretty okay, and also the Cub is not going to be as snowbally, and it's going to be a lot easier to handle for most, but it still could be snowballing out of control if the opponent doesn't respect it. Not much else has changed in this deck. This is the more interesting new version of the deck with a lot more spells instead of imbue things, and you also have Malorn at the end, which can also steal some games. Again, I do have a detailed guide about this particular deck from a few days ago, so might want to check it out. Matchup wise, you can see a lot of green again, and Arena Warrior used to be a bad matchup for this, but that got nerfed to the ground and I haven't seen a single Arena Warrior after that, so there's that. But for the most part, if these stats are true, this deck is still pretty oppressive. When going first, you are going to be looking for your good early game stuff. The Wildwood Circle is still pretty OP, Tree, Horn of Plenty is decent, Spellwitch Treant can help you snowball faster, Innervate helps you with more stuff, and yeah, basically hold on to the cheap stuff, and if you're curving into a Dreambound Disciple, that could also be pretty worth it. On the coin, we can see plenty of the same deal, keep the cheap spells, the cheap minions, that kind of stuff. For other good Druid decks, this is the one I'm showing you, 58% win rate, 5400 games, and we have other iterations of it with a decent sample size too, like this one with the Silence, but the Silence version is not that important nowadays because the Silence was basically for the Warriors. Other than that, Merifra Druid is decently playable right now, but definitely not top tier it seems, and Aggro Druid also above 50, but not by much, so maybe the stats really are true and Imbued Druid is maybe still that oppressive. Spot number 3 goes to Bubble Pally, and this is the Aura version, not the Finja one I tried a few days ago, which really didn't feel that strong. But yeah, Bubble Pally can be absolutely amazing if it curves out decently well, and as long as you get your Violet Treasure Gill or straight out the Acceleration Aura, you should be curving out amazingly well with a deck like this. You have some pretty amazing high roll potentials with the help of Nosdormu, with Toref, and you could be doing some pretty funky end turn effects with the Scale Breaker, the Spearheart Sentry, and even with Nosdormu, which is arguably the best thing you could be doing with the hammer. We also have the Flight Maneuvers Shattered card in here, and this can be super amazing if it curves out properly, but a lot of the times you are gonna find yourself pretty chunky minions in between this card, so it couldn't high roll as much as it does in some cheaper variants. Again, check out my video about this deck if you want to see it in action, but now let's see the updated stats, and you can see that you have actually a lot of green in here, like damn. Not a single bad match according to the stats at least, so climbing should definitely not be an issue. When you are going first with this one, the Treasure Gill is obviously gonna be absolutely amazing, Twilight Egg is good as well, Righteous Protector people keep a lot, but it's not that important to hold on to, and honestly I would throw it back in the mulligan if I don't already have Violet Treasure Gill or at least Acceleration Aura. Flight Maneuvers going first could be amazing, especially if you already have a curve going, because you're only gonna have a couple of cards in between this thing. The location could be okay, the weapon as well could be okay, but all of these are things you will keep only if you already have a Violet Treasure Gill, so honestly why would you even keep them if you are gonna be playing that on 2? You might as well just play a 4-drop on turn 3, so it's kinda weird, but maybe I'm just looking at it a little bit too greedy like. If you already have the Acceleration Aura, you could be considering a good 4-drop, but if you don't, probably don't. When going second, again, get that ramp, get that early game curve, and you should be good. Right now, this is the list I'm showing you, 2700 games, almost 58% win rate, but as I said, there is a cheaper variant out there with a smaller sample size, but definitely looks pretty interesting, and I'm willing to actually give this thing a try. This is the aggressive Flight Maneuvers Paladin I was thinking of actually creating at some point, because it really does make a lot of sense. This thing should be working well, and somebody actually did find good success with it. We can see other versions of Bubble Pally with the Aura package, some more greedy than others, this one with Ursol, but for the most part, Bubble Pally is the way to go. Spot number 4 goes to Spell Demon Hunter, and honestly this might be the #1 deck right now because it's super powerful, super oppressive, and really popular right now, so you should be seeing plenty of this guy out there right now. The deck was good before the patch, after the patch it went kinda crazy now in popularity and in power. Nothing too crazy about the build of this deck, I'm pretty sure I already gave you a guide about maybe almost this exact same list. I'm pretty sure we did not run Horn of Feasting, which definitely proves to be a pretty good card, especially if you have it outcast. But for the most part the deck looks pretty similar to this, and the really big payoff in this deck would be the Eternal Hold, which always is gonna give you at least one amazing demon to be playing down for 0, and if you curve into this thing and stabilize on turn 6, on turn 8 you're gonna go crazy. You also often are gonna find yourself with Broxigar in hand, and with the help of things like Lasting Legacy you are gonna make it even bigger. And the interesting thing about this deck actually is you're no longer running the card that discovers you extra minions for free mana with the discount, which honestly I thought it was a good card, but apparently not so much, or at least this list doesn't think so. But yeah, I'll probably do an updated guide about this deck soon, so be on the lookout for that. Matchup wise, here's what we have right now. Druids used to be a problem for this, but you're not gonna face too many of them right now at least. Maybe Imbued Druid is gonna take a rise in power again. Egg Warlock, I haven't seen a single one, but apparently it's bad. And Arena Warrior used to be a 50-50, but it's no longer. When going for the mulligan, here's what it looks like going first. Try to keep the good early game stuff, and even holding on to your location straight out would be a good idea because it's just that strong, but try to be curving into it a little. The Portal is good, the Wyvern Slumber, Sigil of Cinder, the free mana location as well, Infestation, the rest probably not so much, even though Acts of Scenarios could be worth it. Going second, again, try to hold on to the good 1-2 freeze, and curving into the location as soon as turn 5 could be absolutely amazing here, so you might want to hold it even if nothing else is keepable. Here's the list I'm showing you. Insane sample size, very good win rate, and several different iterations with similar stats as well, so it must be real strong. Other than that, I have been seeing some more aggressive minion Demon Hunters out there with Broxigar. Herald Demon Hunter is also pretty decent. You could check my video about it, even though this is a different iteration from the one I played. And we could scroll down further to see something else, but so far nothing else is registering. But I'm telling you, there's a new Broxigar aggro Demon Hunter with minions. Might be worth checking out if you find the list. And on the last spot we have Herald Warrior, which is another big winner out of the patch because nothing got nerfed for this deck, and a lot of its bad matchups did get nerfed, so it is thriving right now. Herald Dragon Warrior is pretty aggressive, it has a lot of damage from hand, and it does have pretty good mid and even late game potential too, but you really need to know which gear to be playing this deck on depending on the matchup so you can actually maximize on it. I will be doing a guide about it really soon in the next day or two, so be on the lookout for that on the channel. But as for the build, it looks pretty standard. I'm pretty sure we have seen this deck before the patch. You basically run all of the good Herald cards, you're not running the 5 mana Herald neutral guy because he's not even a dragon, and you don't always need to actually have Ragnaros max Heralds, neither Deathwing, you just do it for the armor, for the new hero power, for the extra stats on board, that kind of stuff. For the matchups right now, Imbue Druid used to be a problem. Right now if you're facing too many, maybe it's not that good, but personally I've literally faced a single one for about 6 hours of playing, so there's that. And everything else is at least 50-50 or very good for you, so there's that. When it comes down to the mulligan, going first, you're gonna try to curve into your good early game minions. The weapon ain't too bad, and be careful because some of these cards do require a dragon, so you might have to do some weird mulliganing. Shadow Flame Suffusion could be okay, even though personally I wouldn't like holding on to it. Curving into the Scorching Ravager can also be amazing, and turn 1 location definitely ain't the worst, depending on the matchup and on the hand already. When going second, again try to keep the good early game dragons, the Brood Keeper, the Cataclysmic War Axe. Here I'd say Shadow Flame Suffusion is a little bit more keepable, but still not that amazing. You're trying to curve out with your good stuff on board, not snipe things off from the board, so there's that. So yeah, mulligan accordingly. Here's what the stats are looking like for Warrior right now. This right here is the list I'm showing you because it definitely has very good sample size with very good win rate, but as you see we have even higher win rate with smaller sample size, albeit. This one also is bigger win rate, smaller sample size, but technically I could have shown you this one as well. But over 1000 more games than the other one, this one definitely has the critical mass for it. Other than Herald Warrior, you're not gonna see too much other things right now doing really good, even though Arena Warrior people are still actually trying it apparently, but I'm really not sure if this thing is up to date with the stats. We can scroll down further, see some more Arena Warriors. There's also straight out Dragon Warriors, which are not doing as well as the Herald version, and Egg Warrior also playable, but definitely not a monster of a deck it seems. For the classes we haven't mentioned, starting off with Death Knight. Unholy Death Knight is the best performer right now, but it's really nothing to write home about it seems, and Herald Death Knight sadly is just a little over 50%. Definitely not as good as we thought it would be, but it is what it is. I guess it needs a little bit more support, maybe the mini set's gonna help it. For Hunter, obviously Face Hunter is super strong right now if you ask me, but according to the stats, not so much. Right now you really need to be pushing this deck to the max in order to do a lot better than you're supposed to, and I do believe it's a skill issue for these stats to be looking as bad as they do, but in higher legend you can definitely do some pretty nasty things with Face Hunter if you know how to push it. Going down to Mage, Burn Mage apparently is playable but not that amazing, and Quest Mage very much in the water, doesn't seem worth talking about. Even though Priest got a decent buff, doesn't seem like it's doing all that well even after that. I did feel like the Quest Priest is gonna be rising in power after the latest patch, but so far that is not the case. As for Rogue, honestly, Rogue could have been a part of this top 5 if we're talking about top legend at least. Herald Rogue, very skill testing deck, but very strong, and that's why you're gonna see in top legend a lot of rogues, like I mean a lot. But from diamond to legend, I don't think the stats are really supporting it to be in this top 5, and in the end of the day it's top 5 best decks for legend, so there is that. And last but not least, or maybe least, I don't know, we have Egg Warlock for the Warlock class, and nothing else seems to be working. Again, the patch was supposed to help this deck a little, but so far that is not the case. So that's about it for this top 5, guys. Do let me know in the comment which deck is your favorite right now, and I might make an updated guide about it. Hope you found the video helpful, and if you do, a like and a subscribe would be great, and don't forget to check me out live on stream each Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday. Thanks for watching, guys. I'm Kris05, and I'll see you in my next video or stream.